Okay, let's now have a look at exercise 12. For that exercise, you first of all needed to watch a video fragment. I sent you the link as well so you could watch it. The video fragment comes from a graphic novel called Persepolis. And it's basically an animated version of what you would find in that graphic novel. The graphic novel Persepolis is about a young girl called Mariam who grew up in Tehran in Iran in the late 70s, beginning of the 80s, when Muslim fundamentalists came to power there. And the story basically tells what happens to that girl during that period of time. Once you've watched the video, you should be able to tell us what happens in each of the screenshots that you find in your workbook in exercise 12.1. You needed to describe each scene by using the keywords that you get in exercise 12.1. The words that are underlined in exercise 12.1, the words in green, are words that you can find in the vocabulary list. Let's have a look at some of those words. For example, the word veil is the first word there. You can see it over here. A veil is basically in slöj, what the women in the novel have to wear on their heads after the Muslim fundamentalists come to power. A decent woman, that is the second word that you see there, is what we would translate in Dutch as an eerbare vrouw. If there are any other words here that you do not understand or that you find too difficult, you can always look them up in an online dictionary, or you can ask me later on. But basically, if you have a look at the video and if you have a look at the screenshots, the words, everything ought to be clear more or less. Okay, on the next page then, in exercise 12.3, you see a page from the actual graphic novel or comic on which the film was based. Have a look at that, read the text, and then you should be able to fill in the gaps on the next page, which is basically an account of the story that you find in exercise 12.3. But what is the difference between the two texts? 12.3 is what actually happens, that is direct speech, that is what people actually say to each other. And the text that you find on page 163 is an account of that. So that is why we have to put the words into indirect speech in that text. It is no longer what those persons literally said, but it is an account of that. And let's just have a look at that and see how that works, because as you will notice, we'll need to make certain adjustments to the text for it to become correct sentences. So let's have a look at that. Okay, here you can see the solutions to the account on page 163. Have a look, check the verbs, see if you filled in everything correctly, and immediately we'll have a look at the blue grid on the next page to see how we actually need to form indirect or reported speech. So have a look and see if your answers are correct. Okay, let's have a look at the blue grid. First of all, some examples. When we report somebody's words, without literally repeating them, we use what is called reported or indirect speech. You can of course report statements, which are positive sentences, but also questions or imperatives. Let's have a look at some of the examples here. For example, the first one. In direct speech, we have the sentence, "Hi, Mrs. Nadreen, you don't look well." In indirect or reported speech, it becomes, "Mother told Mrs. Nadreen that she didn't look well." Cry, let yourself go. She told her to let herself go and cry. Are you okay? I asked her if she was okay. I'll make you some tea. I said I would make some tea. As you may have already noticed, and I've marked the verbs here in a different color, something happens to the verb forms when you turn direct speech into indirect speech. And that change is called a backshift. Let's have a look at some examples here. Backshift basically means that you put your tense in the past. You shift back. Let's have a look at the first sentence. You don't look well in present tense becomes mother told her she didn't look well. So present tenses shift to past tenses. Have a look at the present perfect tense. Have suffered becomes had suffered. So our verb here have, which is in the present, becomes had in the past form. Will and shall also backshift and become would or should. And then there are some other items which you have to keep in mind. For the logical content of your sentences, you sometimes have to adapt personal pronouns as well. For example, my son, I can't exactly find the example anymore, becomes her son. Of course, all of this depends on the situation, depends on who is saying what. Questions. Questions like, for example, here, are you okay? I asked her if she was okay. We have to use the verb ask or want to know plus if plus rest of the sentence, in which verbs backshift. Imperatives like cry and let yourself go. Let's see if I can find that example. Yes, I told her to let herself go and cry. Here you can use structures like I told her to, I ordered her to, I warned her to, and then of course we get the infinitive. I told her to let herself go and cry. Okay, two more remarks. Mrs. Nazreen told us they had given her son a key. We do not say she told to us. Mrs. Nazreen said to us they had given her son a key and not she said us. This is something that a lot of pupils do wrong or they make mistakes against this. Keep that in mind. Marianne told the reporter, in the worst moments of life you make jokes. Marianne told the reporter that in the worst moments of life you make jokes. Here there is no backshift, as you can see. Why? Because you're talking about a fact that is still true at the moment of speaking, a universal fact. And in that case, there is no need for a backshift. Okay? Good. Once you mastered this, you should be able to fill in the exercise on the next page, which is exercise 12.5. You need to once again, let me see if I can find that page, this is it. You need to once again read the text, which is from the original graphic novel or the original comic, and then complete the account of the past events by using, of course, indirect or reported speech. I will show you the solution. There you go. Check your answers and see if you get the hang of this. See if it isn't too unclear. Okay. And then once you've done that, we have finished with this folder. Of course, you'll get the chance to ask questions either through the forum on Smart School, either through our Smart School Live session, which will come up next week, or you can just send me a message or wait until once the schools reopen and I can explain this to you in person. We'll have a look at this again and I'll come back to this study material in class. Okay, good luck.